It's Dracula's in July. We've got Draculas up to our eyeballs, so smoke every ounce of that sweet sticky you've got laying around your mother's basement, because it's time to get extra shrimp.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Peter Fershlogner's Douche Internet Reviews for douches who like internet reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Bram Stoker's Dracula for the Sega Genesis. Fun fact, Bram Stoker was born in Clontarf, Ireland, which is where leprechauns were invented. Bram Stoker's classic party-sized lasagna is a game where you play as Jonathan Harker on his journey to defeat Dracula in his many forms. Look, I really don't like that we have to play as Jonathan Harker. I mean, why can't we play as Van Helsing or Tom Waits? Don't get me wrong, I love Keanu Reeves. He's one of only 3 men I would let take me from behind, but his portrayal of Jonathan Harker in this film is indefensible. It was one of the worst performances I have ever seen in a movie. Bloody wolves chasing me through this blue inferno. Mina! Anyways, it's time to talk about the game I'm supposed to be reviewing. So, for starters, this game had one of the coolest intros I'd ever seen when I was a kid. A slow scroll across a battlefield littered with impaled corpses set against a pink and purple stormy sky, leading up to the silhouette of none other than the man himself, Gary fucking Oldman. Awesome. So after the badass intro, the game starts you at the options menu, where you've got the option to adjust difficulty, lives, health, and the controls. Like many Sega games, the default controls for this game are all messed up. B button is jump, A button is slice, and C button is item? Gross, dude. Look, I don't want to sound like an elitist, but the C button is for jumping, the B button is for slicing, and A button is for items. And that's the only way to play a Sega game. If you play the game any other way, you can't be my friend, and you can't come to my secret clubhouse behind the Applebee's. So you start the game in the world's shittiest tavern, where you're immediately attacked by the patrons, who are so intoxicated they're laying on the floor, which, by the way, is covered in rats. Jesus Christ, how did this pass inspection? Not only am I tripping over drunk people and rats, but this place doesn't have any fucking stairs. Excuse me, sir, I'd like to file a complaint about your shitty establishment. For starters, there's rodents everywhere, and I think you have a hole in your attic because well, I'm sure you're aware. So this guy is the weapons guy in this game, but not really, because he doesn't sell you weapons or even supply you with them. Instead, he thinks of a weapon, which usually ends up being the weapon most effective in the upcoming boss fight, and then it's your job to go back through the stage and find the weapon he was thinking of, or you can just fucking leave. But you can't leave the stage or collect a weapon until you talk to him. Who he is, I have no idea. He might be someone from the movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but he isn't mentioned anywhere in the guidebook, so we'll just call him Stinky Old Guy. So once you've spoken to Stinky Old Guy and collected your shitty weapon, it's time to leave and start your journey into the land of many rats. Rats everywhere. You've got jumping rats, waddling rats, foggy rats, off-screen rats, and the worst kind of rat, the flying rat. Of course, they aren't the only obstacles you'll encounter on your journey. You'll also come across knife-wielding nuns, troglodytes, blue wolves, receding hairlines, your mother-in-law, zombies, flies. Oh no! Oh, that was anticlimactic. A single scorpion, sea biscuit, and of course, spiders of all shapes and sizes. Spiders, get your spiders. Yeah, it's fucking raining arachnids up in this bitch. Oh, and don't think you'll be killing these enemies with anything other than your sword, because you only get 10 uses out of your secondary weapon, and the enemies in this game have a respawn rate that's higher than your mother's mortgage. Although it does feel good to shoot a bat in the face with a revolver. Shit, we got bats in the house. Got him. Whew. Okay, so once you've traversed a stage filled to the brim with obnoxious enemies and cheap traps, you're met with a boss fight, or as I like to call them, nap time. The bosses in this game are boring enough to be utilized medically to combat insomnia. Let's break it down, shall we? The first boss you come across is Whipman. He just stands there whipping the air. I mean, look at this shit. You gotta deliberately walk into this guy's whip to take damage. Our next contender is the world's lamest dragon. Oh no, he's burping fire in my general direction. I sure hope I don't, like, accidentally jump into his fucking mouth or something. Hey, wait, come back. I thought we were fighting. You also face off against Lucy, who is one of my favorite characters in the film, but she's not threatening in the slightest in this game. She just floats around and lands on a random swamp tuft. That's literally it. Look, my point is that these boss fights are unreasonably easy, and if you have the appropriate weapon, they're not even challenging. Take the dragon, for example. You're just chucking dynamite at this point. You're not even at risk of taking damage. In fact, once you figure out any given boss's pattern in this game, you're likely to be able to defeat them without taking a single hit. Come on, Dracula, put up a fucking fight. You're gonna let this little queef biscuit make a fool out of you? I will say that if you don't pick up a weapon, some of the boss fights in this game can be annoying, but only because they're so monotonous, which is a running theme with the bosses in this game. The bar for boss status is really low. I mean, you don't even have to move to be a boss in this game. You know what's really weird about this game? The sound effects. The sound effects in this game are bizarre, dude. I mean, the evil laughs and howling wolves aren't bad, but why does striking an enemy with my sword sound like someone's struggling to get a drawer open? And when you take a hit, it's like a gulping sound effect. Look, all I'm saying is that this is not the kind of noise someone would make if they got attacked by a horse skeleton. It should sound more like this. Oh my god! Alright, it's time to talk about enemies and gameplay. Remember that long list of enemies I spouted off earlier? Here's the thing, none of them really attack you. They just advance at various speeds and from different directions. And the enemies that do attack are just incompetent. Oh no, it's the unmotivated stabber. He can't even be bothered to turn around. Come on, dude, are you serious right now? Look, if you're gonna fucking stab someone, you've gotta commit to it. Omae wa mo shinderu, dude. My point is that the enemies in this game are extremely incompetent, but they don't really need to be competent because Jonathan Harker's hitbox fucking sucks. I know for a fact I've taken hits from enemies I wasn't even touching, meaning that your character's hitbox is larger than his sprite. That bat didn't touch me. I was like a foot away. Fucking look at that shit. Look at that shit, dude. It also doesn't help that you can't look around in this game at all. Holding down or up does nothing, so you never know what's coming or where it's coming from, making every jump a leap of faith. And when you do jump, chances are you're gonna end up landing directly on top of an enemy. Dang it. Dude, oh, come on, dude! God, I hate that rats are an enemy in this game, and the fact that you're using a sword to fight them is just ridiculous. I mean, a rat is such a small target, and a sword is meant for stabbing and lobbing, and it's just not meant for this type of combat. And honestly, I don't understand how rats are such a fucking detriment to begin with. Jesus Christ, just step on the fucking thing! Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention that you can take multiple hits from the enemies in this game, which is fucking cool. I really enjoy it. You see, the window of invincibility after taking a hit is very small, and there's no knockback in this game, which can lead to some really shitty situations. Especially when there's a cheap hit waiting around every corner. I mean, just look at this. This level was designed to be a complete clusterfuck. You got bats flying all over the place, the swamp is farting rocks at you, and there's off-screen enemies just waiting to slap your nipples. I have no idea what approach the programmers expected you to take here. So here we are in Dracula's flamboyant castle, filled with skulls that fire arrows and knights that take like 9 hits to kill. Okay, let's do this, Dracula. What the fuck? This is the final boss of the game? It's just Dracula running back and forth like a 5-year-old after snorting 12 pixie sticks. Is this the same dude that brutalized battlefields back in the day? Did he just baffle the enemy with his jackassery? How am I even supposed to combat this tactic as a player? Looks like I gotta drop in can't hit me. Looks like the tables have turned, Dracula. Yes! Suck it, Dracula! Get it? All right, we did it! As you strike to defeat Dracula, he reverts to his former aging self. Gazing upon the helpless figure, he touches your soul. As if feeding off this emotion, he seems to grow. Shadows of the ancient courtyard. Jesus fucking Christ, is this an essay? A movement from above catches your eye, but is... Okay, so you stop to take one last look at the shadowed castle. How long do I gotta stare at this fucking horribly pixelated still from the movie? Okay, here we go. Yeah, get fucked, Dracula's castle. Alright, so I did not enjoy this game, but if there's one thing it did right, it's the music. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. Some of these songs were just awesome, and the boss theme really gets your blood pumping. The boss fights themselves, however, are so underwhelming that the music almost works against them. The point is, the music is the best part of this game, followed closely by decent graphics, but then we drop off a fucking cliff into a trash heap of bad gameplay, obnoxious enemies, boring boss fights, and uninspired weapons. It's a game that's plagued with cheap obstacles and enemies that respawn the moment they're off the screen. The gameplay itself was frustrating. I found myself constantly swinging my sword in anticipation of off-screen enemies. I mean, maybe Stabby Steve here had the right idea after all, because this strategy of always stabbing seems to be the only viable means to progress, especially considering just how much this game relies on the fact that you can't see what's coming. It just piles the enemies up. That's the difficulty spike, just a whole bunch of enemies right off screen, and you're all but guaranteed to run into them. So you better hope you've got that old school abductor pollicus brevis stamina, because your thumb is going to give out long before the enemies do. And that's why I'd have to give Bram Stoker's Dracula 2.5 bats out of rats. Now subscribe to my YouTube channel, you son of a bitch. And if you like this crappy review, please donate to my Patreon so that I can make more crappy reviews.
And now it's time for Comments with Peter, the part of the show where Peter reads your stupid fucking comments.
Welcome to Comments with Peter, the part of the show where I, Dracula, read your comments. Let's see what my adoring fans have to say. For 10k subs, you should review a fan's anus. Why didn't I stay in college? Holy shit, you're alive! Do girls dig guys who've beaten a Bubsy game asking for a friend? I speak from experience when I say absolutely not. Yeah, no, the answer is no. A very heartfelt and probably slightly gay no homo thank you for the dudes, I think it was Hugo and Jake way back in the Bible Reloaded days, for luring me to this criminally underrated gem of a channel. I too appreciate Hume and John and everything they've ever done for me. I just wish that John would have given me the chance to plow that sweet, delicious booty. Planning to break up with my girlfriend to support you on Patreon. More than worth it. Drop her, dude. Drop her like a rock. Peter, how do you feel about your large following in the furry community? Well, Barry, I don't mind at all, because my channel is a place of inclusion. It's a place for people of all shapes and sizes, races and religions, and sexual orientations to come together and watch some guy review video games sometimes. What I'm trying to say is that my channel is a place for everyone. Except for fucking Chiropterans.